Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something that literally shapes the trajectory of our entire lives. We're looking at a fascinating breakdown of why shifting our focus from just earning a high salary to actually building disciplined, long-term systems is the real key to financial peace. So many of us are just running on this endless treadmill, right? Thinking, oh, the next raise will finally bring me freedom. But as we're going to see today, building long-term wealth, it requires a completely different playbook.
Let's start with a little thought experiment. Imagine two people. They wake up at the exact same time, go to the exact same kind of job, put in the same grueling hours, and come home totally exhausted. From the outside, you couldn't tell their lives apart. But fast forward 5 years, one of them is still absolutely panicking at the end of every single month, while the other is, well, remarkably calm and secure. So what happened? Did one of them win the lottery, get a secret massive promotion? No way. The difference is actually incredibly subtle at first, but it completely rewrites their futures. Meet our two examples, Ravi and Samir. They both start out on the exact same track. Salary comes in, bills get paid, a little bit gets spent on lifestyle stuff. Pretty standard. But Ravi gets caught in this common trap. He starts relying entirely on that next paycheck, convinced that just pushing his income higher and higher is going to magically fix his money stress. Samir, on the other hand, well, he takes a totally different route. Instead of just working for his money, he starts figuring out how to make his money work for him by building solid financial systems.
Now, to really grasp this, we need to redefine some words we toss around every single day. There is a massive, crucial distinction here. Income is really just the money flowing in from your active labor, the sweat off your back. But wealth? Wealth is the value that sticks around. It's what grows in the background and supports you even when you're sleeping, or, when you just decide you don't want to work anymore. Ravi was focused strictly on income. Samir? He was focused on wealth.
Think of it like this. Imagine your financial life is a giant water tank. The water pouring in from the top, that's your income. But the holes at the very bottom are your expenses. Now, if you just keep opening the tap wider and wider, getting promotions, working crazy overtime, but you totally ignore those gaping holes at the bottom, that tank is never, ever going to fill up. I mean, earning a higher salary means absolutely nothing if your expenses are constantly draining your accounts dry.
So, the real villain in most of our financial stories isn't actually a low income. Nope, it's directionless money. Samir actually figured this out when he took a really simple but honestly kind of brave step. He just started tracking where his money was going. No guilt, no self-judgment, he just watched it. How much was actually necessary? How much was just for show? How much was he keeping for his future? And what he found was an uncomfortable truth. He wasn't earning too little. He was just living completely without a system.
Which brings us to the first big concept, building your financial helmet. Because in the money game, defense always comes before offense.
Think of an emergency fund literally as your financial helmet. If you're out riding a motorcycle, throwing on a helmet isn't going to make you win the race, right? It doesn't make the bike go faster, but if you take a bad spill, it saves you from a fatal crash. And let's face it, life is full of unexpected crashes. A sudden medical bill, losing a job out of nowhere, a dead phone, a massive car repair. If you don't have this defensive system already in place, even a tiny bump in the road can turn into a life-derailing crisis.
Moving on to part 2, beating the invisible thief. Or, to put it another way, why just saving your money simply isn't enough.
Okay, leaving your cash sitting idle in a regular bank account is kinda like leaving a box of chocolates on a warm shelf. There's this invisible thief called inflation that sneaks in. Now, the number of chocolates in your box looks exactly the same. You still have that $100 bill, but over time, inflation secretly shrinks the size of every single chocolate. The actual purchasing power of your money just evaporates into thin air. So just playing defense and protecting your cash isn't going to cut it. You're practically forced to grow it just to survive.
And that leads perfectly into Section 3, Growing the Wealth Tree. This is all about harnessing the sheer power of compounding and smart choices.
The source uses this fantastic quote, "Wealth doesn't sprint, it grows like a tree." This right here is the absolute essence of compounding. Look, you don't plant a mango seed on a Monday and expect to be eating fresh fruit by Tuesday. It takes patience. You water it, you give it sunlight, and this is absolutely crucial, you don't dig it up every single day just to see if the roots are growing. In financial terms, this means your money earns money, and then those new earnings go on to generate even more earnings. It might start slow, but it is incredibly powerful if you just leave it alone to do its thing.
But, you can't just toss seeds randomly into the dirt and expect a lush forest. Smart investing actually has rules. Not every seed thrives in every soil. which means not every investment is right for every single person. First, you have to understand your own specific goals and your timeline. Then you've got to know your risk tolerance, like how much volatility can you handle without losing sleep. And the absolute golden rule, diversification. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. If all your cash is tied up in one place and that place takes a huge hit, your entire financial foundation could crumble.
Let's look at Section 4, the lifestyle creep trap, or what really happens when you finally get that big raise.
Okay, let's bring our friend Robbie back in. Check out what happens when he gets a raise. His income goes up, right? But what happens almost immediately after? Yep, his expenses shoot right up to match it. He tells himself, hey, I worked hard. I deserve this. So he goes out, buys the brand new phone, starts eating at all the expensive restaurants, upgrades his car. The guy burns through his entire raise just to look rich. So while his income increased, his actual financial freedom, it hasn't moved an inch.
Now contrast that with Samir. When Samir gets that exact same raise, his income goes up, but look at his expenses. They stay completely flat. He totally manages his lifestyle inflation. He just keeps living the exact same comfortable life he already had, and he takes all that new extra money and aggressively pumps it straight into his financial systems, the emergency fund, his investments, his savings. Samir is giving orders to his money. He absolutely refuses to let his money control him.
And honestly, that is what true wealth actually looks like. It's not about flying in private jets or flashing shiny gold watches. True wealth is quiet. It's having breathing space and margins in your daily life. It's the ultimate luxury of not getting that knot in your stomach during the last week of the month. It's getting hit with a sudden car repair bill and just being, slightly annoyed rather than spiraling into a total panic. Ultimately, wealth is about keeping absolute control over your own time and your own future.
So you got to ask yourself this and really let it sink in for a second. Am I just looking rich today, or am I actually becoming financially strong? The source material makes a brilliant point here. Winning the money game doesn't happen with one giant dramatic movie moment move. It happens through small, repetitive, seemingly boring but incredibly solid decisions. Asking yourself this exact question before you make a big purchase, that's the pivot point. That is what dictates the entire trajectory of your financial future.
Seeing it this way completely shifts our mindset. Income is active. It literally requires you to trade your precious time. Wealth, though, is protective and productive. It grinds away on its own. Your income runs your household today, but your wealth, that secures your future tomorrow. Income drives your daily routine, but wealth is the engine that sustains your ultimate freedom. Of course you need income, but it's really just a tool to build the actual goal, which is wealth.
This brings us to our final section, 4 steps to freedom. These are the small, boring, but totally life-changing habits you can start right now.
Step 1. Track your money for exactly 1 month. Remember the water tank analogy? You literally cannot plug the holes if you don't know where they are. And don't judge your spending yet. Just write it down. Observe it. Step 2. Start building that small emergency fund. Get that financial helmet strapped on. You don't need 6 months of expenses saved up right away. Just start with enough to cover a minor emergency so you can stop derailing all your progress every time life throws a curveball.
Then we hit steps 3 and 4. Step 3. Automate a portion of your savings and investments. Do not rely on your own willpower at the end of the month, because willpower fades. Set up a system so your money moves directly into your wealth-building accounts the literal second you get paid. And finally, step 4. Invest in your own skills. Look, you are always your best asset. Increasing your own value out in the marketplace just makes this entire process faster and way more resilient.
Which brings us to this powerful final mantra from the source. I won't just increase my income, I will build wealth. The path to a secure future isn't about waiting for some one-time windfall. It's built quietly, day by day, through those disciplined systems. So the question is, are you going to keep chasing the next paycheck like Ravi, or are you ready to start planting your wealth tree like Samir? What small, totally boring habit are you going to start today to finally plug the holes in your own tank?